Never knew podcasting could be so much fun. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me. So today I'm going to talk about when I left Washington, D.C. and received a 3-year contract to do morning radio here in Atlanta. This is where I live, here in Atlanta, with Barry Chase. We were a two-man morning team back in the early to mid 70s and went our separate ways for one reason or another. Those stories are coming, believe me. So they wanted to bring us back to Atlanta. Barry came, somewhere from the Midwest, and I came from DC, and they put us back together, and we played classic rock and roll, a brand new format, which is taking all of the top 40 songs, the rock and roll top 40 songs that we played 10 years earlier, and playing them again and burning them out. That means playing them over and over with a short playlist where you just want to scream. You want to bite your tongue. So, signed the 3-year contract. And I remember the general manager at the time saying, "Man, if you sign this, dog, you could stay here in Atlanta for as long as you want." And he said, "Now here's how much we're going to offer you." And I said, "No, that's totally unacceptable." I said, "You have to pay both of us the same amount of money. If we're a two-man morning show, one person can't get less than the other. It doesn't make sense." "Well, I'll have to send that up the line." I said, "Okay, you go ahead and do that, and you let me know," because I was still in DC at the time. And so anyway, we worked it all out. Barry and I both made the same amount, and we were hired with a big bonus. The more listeners we were able to attain, the higher our bonus was. So it all looked good, right? So we came out of the chute, and before you know it, we went from worst to first. People loved the chemistry. They loved listening to us in the morning. We loved talking to listeners. They would call in. They would do, whatever. We related with them, and they related with us. It was a perfect storm. So we were number one in a huge demographic, 25 to 49, male and female. That's pretty huge. But as radio station managers and upper management always do, it's part of their job, they want to increase the ratings. How can we increase them? So they brought in this consultant. You can't see the quotes around consultant. Too bad it's not video, because I'm holding up quote signs. His name was Gary. They said, "Well, Gary, what do we do in order to increase listenership?" Gary says, "Well, I've been listening, and guess what? You guys are talking too much and not playing enough music." I said, "We're number one in the market, for God's sakes. What do you want us to do?" He said, "I want you to cut back on your talk, and we're going to play more music. And another thing, Woodside," because I also did the news. He said, "Another thing, Woodside, I want you out of the newscast at the top of the hour so we can play a hard drive rock and roll song right at the top of the hour." And I said, "What if I'm 30 seconds over? What if I'm a minute over? What does it matter?" He says, "Here's what matters, Woodside." He said, "Let me tell you, and I want you to listen very carefully. People are depending on getting into their cars during morning drive at the top of the hour to begin their commute to work." I said, "You're serious?" He said, "Yeah, they are literally waiting to get into the car, and when they crank that engine, open up the garage door, they're going to hear hard driving rock and roll, and that's part of the secret to our success." I said, "Okay, wow." And he didn't like me. I was kind of a smart ass. I was tired. It was after doing a morning show and meeting with this guy. So anyway, he said, "See how it works. We'll get back. I'll come back into town in a couple of months, and we'll recalibrate everything." Well, during that time span, I was out of work for about a week. I had bad flu. And so when I came back in, the consultant was in the conference room with the general manager and the program director, Tony Mathis. And he said, "We're going to cut back even more. We're going to cut back your talk even more. You're talking too much. You're talking about grandchildren, children. You're talking about real life. Nobody wants to hear that." "Oh, okay. All right." I said, "That's great." And I said, "Guess what, Gary? I had the flu for a week, and, I couldn't help but stand in front of the front of my house and watch all of my neighbors get ready to get in their car at the top of the hour. It was totally amazing. They were just standing by their garage, waiting to get into their car. They were standing at the front door, waiting to run to the car on the side of the road. It was incredible. Briefcase in hand, everything. Just waiting for the top of the hour. And you should have seen all of them run right into their cars and boom, off to the commute to Atlanta. Oh, he did not like that at all. He said, well, we're going to cut back your talk because that's what's killing. The ratings are going down and it's because you're talking. I said, no, the ratings are going down because you increased music. We're playing the same tired ass music. Grateful Dead, I don't know how many albums Grateful Dead did, but here, let me, hey Siri, how many albums did Grateful Dead produce?
The very best of Grateful Dead is by Grateful Dead.
Okay, well, you're worthless. Thank you so much. Artificial intelligence. Anyway, we only played one album and 2 songs, Sugar Magnolia and Truckin'. It was horrible. Horrible. Same old crap over and over and over. So, as time went on, the ratings continued to go down, 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 down. In the meantime, talk radio started going up, 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 up. Why? Because they decided to have talk host talk and take phone calls, which is exactly what we were doing. But God forbid we were doing it on FM. FM wasn't meant for talk radio. So anyway, the next thing I knew, the ratings came out. We didn't get a bonus. We didn't get squat. They fired the consultant. But of course, the first people to always go in a radio show, first of all, they fire the producer. It's a great scapegoat. The producer really doesn't do anything but take orders from the morning show talent. And the next thing they do, sometimes they'll fire the program director, but not necessarily, because a program director is not really in charge of the programming. The program director is really in charge of taking orders from the general manager, who is responsible for generating sales and getting clients to buy radio time on the radio station. So anyway, of course, no one would man up. And I was at a bar one night and my brother-in-law called and said, hey, Scott, guess what? I heard from someone that works at your radio station that you're going to be fired tomorrow. I said, oh, wow, isn't that nice? So I confronted the general manager after the morning show the following day and I said, yo, Dave, there's a rumor out saying you're going to fire us. You said we could stay here forever in Atlanta. Dave said, well, things have changed. I said, okay. He said, we're going to go in a different direction and we're not going to renew your contract. So here we are, left out in the cold. Barry created a great business. He was the first person ever in the country to create on-hold recorded phone messages for companies. He did very well in Atlanta. Me, on the other hand, I couldn't get a job in radio. No one would hire me. I just gotten a college degree. I was age 40, nowhere to go, but I still wanted to make 6 figures. So how did I do that? I decided to go into sales. Oh boy, have I got stories about that. Coming up on the next episode of Woodside and his crazy ass stories.